All right, I'm on the farm today. I got the John Deere 5055D and the 348 square baler, 42 kicker and homemade kicker rack. And I already got some hay in this wagon. I'm going to top it off. And then I got a couple other wagons out there. We're going to be working our west field. And I'm only going to bale just that field in and of itself. The plateau up there in the low ground, I'm not going to square bale that. I'm going to try to round bale it. But so I've got some kicker wagons that are partially empty from selling hay, and I got two of them, this one and another one, and I'm going to fill those up. And then I got a third wagon that's empty. So that'll be all the squares I'll do for the year. But let me get on out here in the field, and I'll come back. One of my boys is raking hay for me. He's here on the farm, so that helps me out a bunch. Alright, that's all I'm going to put on that wagon. And I'll tell you what, this could be some really nice hay, but it's got some weed pressure in it. That's the old bales that were on the wagon. You can kind of see the difference in color as I go up. So the next partial wagon will be one over to the left. So right here is what we got. Really tight bale. And looking pretty good. We're going to put another trailer on. Okay, that's about all I'm gonna put on this wagon, and got a bale sitting out there, and I'm gonna put the fresh wagon on that's got no bales on it, and we'll finish out this field. But pretty good showing, I think. But let me keep going. Alright, so I finished baling here. It's really dusty, and the knotters have got stuff all over them. Be blowing this off. This field is complete. Like I said in some of my earlier videos, this field was always perfect when I was working, and even in retirement, it's just a nice size field to tackle, and kind of gives me some guidance going into next year how big of a field I want to take on at one time. And something about this size is really about it if I'm doing all the work. One of my boys raked with the Massey Ferguson 50 and my John Deere 350 hay rake, and he did a superb job. Doubled up the windrows and went around the perimeter to kind of straighten things up. Here's one of the bales. I mean, that's as good a bale as you're going to get. Not counting that trash. But nice and tight. This John Deere baler has always been a great baler, and it goes back. One of the first balers I stacked behind on a wagon was the John Deere 24T, and it just made bricks just like this all day long. It just compared to this baler, it was slow, but that was all right. Plenty of hay was put up with that baler, and a lot of them just like it up. The 336, just legendary John Deere balers. Of course, New Holland had great balers too, and we used a 68 model 68 up here for a good while, and I think it's sitting around here somewhere in the weeds. But anyway, this is it for square bales for 2025, and my low ground down there, I'm going to round bale that, and that plateau up there, I'm going to round bale that. I want to give my round baler a workout, and hopefully I've got enough hay to do that. So let me just kind of end it right there. The John Deere 348 baler with the number 42 kicker, and 5055D, the backbone of this farm. It's been a good day to bale. In the 80s, low humidity. We'll talk to you later.